all the programs that are out there right now, that like scientific programs trying to get farming in new places, things like that, they are all applicable, if I said that right, to Mars. They're a multi-planetary science. So I'm looking through there, and ironically, I sent you that article about desalination, and it was a surprise to me to find out most of the article is about a place about 2 streets away from my house where they're practicing growing different things with this desalinated water. Now, a long time ago, when we first supposedly were getting this program, I remember they moved most of the desalination machines to Iraq. And then it happened again with Ukraine. But they're doing
Mm.
these little projects out there. Um, Supposedly, these projects are all over the place. There's a big map that they have on there that shows the majority of the west of the United States is experimenting in desalinizing desert water or groundwater. And, and then I just so happened to flip to a different article, and I was watching these people, and I think it's China. I'll put it back up on screen in a minute. But it was like a restaurant, and these rotating troughs or flower beds, really, uh, with strawberries in it, would lower down to the table so that people could pick fresh strawberries right from the plant. And it was just this big warehouse with nothing but strawberries in these machines, and they would turn, and then people would eat, get the fresh ones right off the vine. It was pretty cool, and then I'm off to X, and I'm reading some tweets by Elon Musk and his plans, basically for the near future, the next 20 years. He has a lot planned. And if, I'm just saying if, because there's a lot of hurdles as far as people's opinion on Earth on what should be done with other people's money. I'll put it that way. So there's some big,
OPM, as they say.
yeah, there's some big factions out there that want to make sure that whatever's done with large amounts of money, they get a say so on how that turns out. But let's say everybody cooperates and a plan comes together, Musk's plan, to get, I think it's about 5 or 6 unmanned, crewless starships over to Mars, dropping off a bunch of Tesla bots who will start doing tasks for us here. And a lot of those revolve around all the sciences that are going on Earth. It's almost like behind the scenes there is a plan to get a certain amount of people off world by 2050. This is the number, right? So keep that in mind. 2050 is the number where they assume they'll have enough ships going back and forth to Mars every 2 years when Mars comes close to colonize it within 20 years using bots, using desalination, using GMO, and eventually growing humans on Mars. Now that sounds pretty far-fetched if you know, really think about how grand this scheme is. However, all of those projects have been being practiced nonstop here on Earth. And we're like, why are they doing that over here? What's with the fake climate change thing? All of this stuff fits in together to where they think that they're going to just start a new off-world governing system for Earth. So if you were one of the people left back on Earth, these massive AI servers would then start being built on Mars, where it's cheap to cool. They don't have to pay for, any country or anybody that thinks they have water rights because the water is there. That's what we've been finding out through science. Slowly, they're leaking it. Like I just saw, a bunch of people posting about a confirmed diatom in a meteorite from Mars, a fossilized little diatom. It only grows in water here on Earth, but there's billions of different kind. No matter which drop of water around the world, you're going to find those little creatures in it, or another new species of those type of creatures. So that's on Mars. We know it's there. We know they have ice. We know they have water. It's heavily salinated. It's, because it's brackish. It's in the soil. And then, if you just think about it, they could just keep everybody on Earth distracted to the last minute. And if they weren't planning a future for here on Earth, as in growing your own food, stockpiling tools and other things, there may be some kind of financial and political collapse in the near future that would reset not only how we distribute money, but food and who gets it and why. Are they, because we can go down that digital ID and CBDC or whatever it's called, but that all amounts to, in the near future, having a biometric based digital identity that encapsulates every aspect of your interaction with the human system and the digital system, i.e., money, access to information, access to products. That's where it's going. So us, being the little peons that we are, would have to start planning as if, we were one of those humans in ancient times that had to live through a catastrophe of one kind or another. Now, I'm not saying I know what it is, but whatever it is, all of the elites in all of the circles seem to be planning for this event. And you can go back in time and think about all these buildings like the seed vaults they built, and they put those in the Arctic and different places. And I think the whole landscape of Earth is about to change, not the physical landscape, but the way that humans move across the planet, landscape of the human domain. And I was reading this article about these ports that they've been trying to build in the Arctic, right? It's super cold there. The water, there's just too much water for them to successfully build these ports, which would have made it where they didn't have to go all the way around the Panama Canal to get around the planet. They just can't get it going. It's tech failure after tech failure. But these same kind of machines and programs would work well on Mars because there is no real water in the atmosphere. They would only have to deal with dust, and they'd be getting the water from underground. So it seems like there is a coordinated effort to not only colonize Mars in a hurry, but also tamper down human behavior until it's controllable here on Earth. And that includes controlling your garden outside. And I'm sure you've seen a plethora of articles talking about, how they need to govern your little garden at home for the planet. Everything's for the planet. We gotta control that carbon. Even though it's a joke at this point. That
No,
carbon
they don't.
is
No, they
just
don't.
plant food.
There are few things you can count on in a major disaster. Having your water supply cut off is one of them. With the Alexa Pure Emergency Water Bank, you'll have months of drinking water in your home. Everyone else will stand in line waiting to get just a few bottles. It's one of the easiest, most affordable ways to store emergency water, and it takes up hardly any space. The Alexa Pure Emergency Water Bank includes one BPA-free liner, comes with a siphon pump for extracting water, fits just about any bathtub, large or small, fills quickly in 30 minutes or less, holds up to 65 gallons of water, and keeps water fresh for up to 16 weeks, holds about 2 months of water for one person. A person can generally survive without water for about 3 days. However, the exact amount of time depends on many factors, including age, activity level, and overall health. Don't gamble with your life and well-being. Being prepared is easier than ever with Civilization Cycle and Alexa Pure.
And we
Yeah,
need
did you see that article? I just forwarded you one. A friend of mine, Ted, sent me that. And it says here, this is from The Guardian, no less, and it's not from the comic section on a Sunday or something, but it is from The Guardian, no less, the Terra Watch. Plants are losing appetite for carbon dioxide amid effects of warming climate. In English, it says plants don't want to bring in as much CO2 for respiration and exhale out that oxygen on a regular daily basis, which they've been doing for billions of years, just because the temperature is pretty much like not even half a degree warmer than it has been in the last 150 years coming out of the little ice age. These articles are just like a joke, and they should be regarded as such. This is the most absurd thing I've heard. Plants have been here for billions of years. CO2 concentrations were so much higher as long as these plants have been on our planet, up to 7,000 parts per billion. And now they're saying because it's 490, 491, that plants suddenly aren't going to do any kind of photosynthesis respiration any longer. That's anti-science headlines right there. That should be taken with a grain of salt, and that should actually be written into, like, you can't put that type of misleading, false, fake science. You know, talk about fake news. That's fake science right there. I cannot believe that. You editors up at The Guardian, I am absolutely shocked that you would allow such editorial sloppiness. For that to be run, how did that even slip past? A basic fifth grader could have learned and seen that one shouldn't have been published. You know, and these need to be called out for what they are. It's garbage is what it is. And it should be. You know, if you talk about fake news, and I wish I had my own fact-checking agency for climate articles, because this would be right at the top of fake, big red X through it. But I want to come back to Mars for a second, and then wind into Walmart. I know a difficult way to, well, I guess sometimes you go to Walmart, there are some people from Mars in there, but not that. You know, Stargate, like, I really believe Stargate technology is a real thing where they can hop and jump into different planets across the galaxy. This has been talked about time immemorial, and then we put our military bases during the Iraqi invasion and Afghanistan all over these same archaeological sites and just dug for 10, 20 years unabated, no oversight, no protect the monuments type of people in there to oversee what went on. But you know, they talked about direct portals to Stargate. Like, that movie is a documentary on what technology exists from the past. So they're talking about sending rocket ships up. That's the distraction. The real tech allowing you to jump within seconds from one planet or one solar system to another. And you might think that's woo-woo and be like, what is he talking about? This kind of crazy guy. I actually believe the ancients, more than our current, what is considered linear time frame of technology development, from we were riding horses and now we have airplanes. Like, there is definitely a skipped chapter or 2 or 3 or volume of history prior to the Younger Dryas event. These things were intact. And after some of these massive cataclysms in the last 12,000 years, it seems that a lot of this tech stopped working. Now, you know, Ransom, I'm sure you're all over this like a duck on a June bug for the pillars that they found under the Great Pyramids, which, again, all the Egyptologists need to quit right now, because there has been a bevy, a slew of others out there saying, hey, there's something more going on at these pyramids as a power production plant. And they're like, no, you are insane. You are not an Egyptologist. What do you mean? And now we're finding all these things under the pyramids through LiDAR and whatever sensing technologies they have that make these Egyptologists, you need to quit. You've been wrong the whole time. The people who are saying there's other technologies there that existed prior, they're the ones that are correct. You know, we're getting into this conundrum here of those who are always looking for the answers are finding that these ancient technologies are existing. Now, I don't know how the Egyptologists are going to come back again, but that's for a different thing. But the Stargate technology, I believe, is real, right along with now what they're finding in Egypt with these pillars, these 2 rows of 4 that go down into some housing that acts as a capacitor, down some almost 2,000 feet. Like, there is some incredibly advanced technology on this planet. I believe Stargate was part of that.